Tamara Yajia. I am thrilled to have you here with me.
Hello, darling. A pleasure for me. This is not work. This is joy.
Ah, what a compliment. I feel the same way. And honestly, I felt that way. I just returned from vacation and I brought your book as my vacation read and I devoured it.
I love to hear that. How long did it take you? I hear it's like a 2-day read, which is so
About
fast.
It was such a fast read, and because I was just gobbling it up. My husband was like, that book must be really funny because I was laughing out loud. It takes a lot for a
Oh,
book to make me laugh out loud.
oh, good, good, good. It's
Yeah.
so funny because I'm not a very eloquent person. I had while I was writing it, I had a web browser open for synonyms.com. Because I'd be like, every now and then I'd like to put a smart word in, but I can't come up with it myself. But yeah.
It felt like, I think because I know you too, I really heard your voice throughout the entire
Yeah.
book. Like, I felt like I was listening to you narrate it to me,
Yeah.
and you have such a distinctive voice
Yeah.
and sense of humor and point of view.
Totally. Like, what if I was going to try to sound like something else? Like, I wanted it to be like me telling a friend the story of my life. So thank you. Thank you.
No, that's how it feels. Honestly, I really recommend this book, you guys. Cry For Me Argentina, My Life as a Failed Child Star. It is, and I think it's hilarious. It's such a great family story. I love your filthy sense of humor.
Mm.
I can't recommend it highly enough. And I think right now, too, especially, it's a beautiful story about immigration, too.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't want to tell. I know there's a lot of like the perfect immigrant, right? And it's like immigrants have to be hard workers and immigrants have to like just be upstanding citizens. And like my parents weren't. I mean, they are hard workers, but it was a messy ass immigration journey that is very interesting to read if you want to really get to know an immigrant family like well.
No, that's exactly what it is. And your family is just like so full of amazing characters. And I think it took a lot of bravery to write this book. You're very honest in it. And I've always loved your very blue sense of humor. But I think you really toe that line between vulnerability. No, that's it. You're just very
Yeah.
vulnerable. I guess that you're towing the line, I think, between being genuinely vulnerable and also it's just so bawdy and hilarious.
Sure. And I think that that's my editors too, because the first draft of this book was so guarded and like just fully leaning in towards the funny. And there were certain points that my editor was like, hey, Tam, like there's men looking up your skirt at age 11. Like maybe this part shouldn't be like, laugh out loud,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, but I think I think the way you deal with it, it just feels very honest to me. And there's something I think that's something that's very universal. Obviously, this is an immigrant story, but it's also like a very universal story
Sure.
of coming to age as a woman.
Yes. At
And
a weird time in like the late 90s, early 2000s, which was the most toxic time too.
yes, yes,
Right? I think we're the same age and
yeah.
it like Limp Bizkit like playing at the all ages club while men like put their boners on my ass.
Yeah, frankly, the biscuit that you wish was limp. Frankly,
They were not limp. They were not
certainly
limp.
not. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. We are the same age, and I think we've had a lot of actually very similar life experiences. And when you're talking about those all ages clubs, I just got a flashback. Because
Yeah.
I don't know if those are even still legal, if they still have those.
I looked into this one, Kokomo's, that was in Irvine, California, and it closed down. And the reviews are so nuts. It's like, it was something like, thank God this place is closed. It was a petri dish for pervs or something like that. Like, there's no way 15-year-olds can be dancing with 30-year-olds now, right? Please?
I hope not. And I was going to say there is no way, but then everything that's happened in the last 6 months, we're regressing to such a nightmarish place that maybe we did reopen
Yeah. You're
those
right.
clubs. Yeah. Fucking A. But yeah, no, really, for those of you guys, I really want to encourage you to check out this book. It's about, you've got this really interesting story about you were on the cusp of becoming like this TV personality in Argentina, and then your family immigrated with you to America, like right as that was happening. And it's a great book.
Yes, but thank you. Please read it so that I sell copies and I can write another one.
Please.
Even though the next one won't be about my life because I'm fed up of talking about myself. Like the next book is going to be fiction and will take place like under the sea. So The Little Mermaid, basically.
I love it. But how will you talk of, I mean, but The Little Mermaid, I guess you can be a little bit raunchy with mermaid jokes.
Yeah, I already have this idea. Her name is going to be Torda the mermaid, and she's going to be ugly as hell, but everyone under the sea thinks she's beautiful. And so she wants to, this has not been well thought out. She wants to come up to the surface so that she can be treated like a normal person that isn't beautiful. This makes no sense.
No, I like it. It's like she's delusional.
Yes.
It's
and
like
she's
reverse.
It's reverse, but there's a plot hole there now that I'm saying it out loud. And she chain smokes underwater.
Well, that's if I was a mermaid, that is the number one magical power I would want.
I'll workshop it.
I'm happy. That's what this show is for.
Good.
Well, let's get into another iconic topic that we're going to be talking about today. This force of nature, this fascinating person, La Veneno. Oh my God. Okay. So this is someone who actually, this topic and this person was recommended to me by my Spanish teacher.
Oh.
Shout out to Michelle. Who I growing up in America, this is not someone that I was familiar with.
Sure. And same here, even growing up in Argentina, she, until the series came out, which I'm sure you'll talk about.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So this wasn't someone who you were aware of in childhood.
Not in childhood, no. I wasn't aware of her until the pandemic when the series came out, and then I became obsessed. But there are parallels in my life to La Veneno, which I'll tell you about.
Incredible. So just a top line overview. La Veneno was this really groundbreaking, beautiful, amazing trans woman who really changed. She was a Spanish woman who really brought the issue of trans rights, and she was, I believe, the first really famous trans woman in Spain. I guess is the top line to know about her. Had a very, very interesting wildlife, which we're going to talk about today. But I think at the end of the day, she's really had this significant place in Spanish culture because she kind of changed the way that trans people were viewed and talked about.
Yeah, they came, she basically was in every person's living room on TV. So in a way, trans people became destigmatized because suddenly families knew a trans person, which was her. But very tragic life too.
Yes. So to start out, La Veneno was born, and her name, La Veneno is her artistic name, but her actual name was Cristina Ortiz Rodriguez. But she was born Jose Antonio Ortiz Rodriguez. Just a quick note, in her own memoir, she refers to her young self using male pronouns. So I will use those when we're talking about them in childhood. That's why I'm using males, because that's how she referred to herself. So she was born Jose Antonio Ortiz Rodriguez in Malaga, Spain, to a family of 6 kids, and knew very early on that he was a queer kid. That's
Joselito, so cute.
Yes. And as you mentioned, there's this amazing miniseries on HBO about La Veneno's life, about Cristina's life, and they portray in the show that they knew very well that they were gay, and actually that he had a gay friend in childhood.
Yes.
That he would hang out with a lot.
Sorry. Had a gay best friend, thank God there was someone, and also had what I think is a gay or a trans uncle. That I don't know the details to this, but who was also shunned by the family. And I'm not sure if they were killed or they died, but there was that presence that Joselito was the dark sheep of the family following the footsteps of this uncle.
I actually did not know that, and that's even more interesting because unfortunately something that ends up plaguing Cristina or Joselito their entire life is that their mother especially is this really homophobic figure who really doesn't accept
Oh my God. Yeah, incredibly homophobic. And I'll talk about the interviews, which I just watched in Spanish, and the mother, and they're chilling and so hard to watch. And supposedly the father didn't have a big problem with Joselito, but also was just kind of a pushover pussy man, you know?
Mm-hmm. I think that's actually pretty interesting because I think, especially if we think about typical American culture or Western culture, if we had to generalize, I think usually I would say women are a little bit more accepting of homosexuality than men, especially in these families where machismo is a big thing. So I think that's fairly interesting.
Yeah, definitely. The mother, I believe, was physically abusive. And I think, like, you know, the vibe the dad gives when I watch these interviews is like a person that is like very just heavily, not medicated, because I'm heavily medicated, but just kind of like checked out of life, you know? But that childhood could not have been easy.
No, not at all. And one anecdote that's in both the memoir, in Christina's memoir, and in the miniseries that I thought was just incredible is, so he's got this little gay best friend. Joselita loves playing with the animals next door, so they kind of like have this like beautiful escapist place where they can play with all the animals. And he's got his little gay bestie, and they sort of have this little place where they can get away from everyone. And one day, they're looking out at the altar boys that are going into mass, and they're like, "Wait, they can wear dresses?"
Yes. Oh.
So they become altar boys so that they can wear dresses. And at mass, they cut the robes so that they're like sassy and sexy.
My God. In the, I haven't read the memoir, which I need to read today, but in the series, there's a scene of their communion. I think it was their communion where they come in with these little mini skirts that are like the robes. And Joselito turns into a peacock when he's getting the wafer. And it's just such a gorgeous scene, right?
It's so gorgeous. And that speaks exactly to what I think is so, I really recommend this series. It's beautiful and it's inventive. And it plays with the magical reality.
Yes.
Of Christina's life that
Yes.
appears in the memoir, too. It kind of is reminiscent
Does
of
it?
Bob Dylan is sort of famous for this, of really mythologizing his own life and blurring the line between reality and fiction.
Sure.
I think Christina did the same thing, and this series really does a beautiful job of
Yeah.
incorporating that.
Yeah. It's totally, it's that magical realism. It's just stunning.
Yes.
No, go ahead.
And ultimately, Christina's memoir will be called Neither a Whore Nor a Saint. So I thought that was sort of interesting, too, that one of these formative experiences takes place in the church.
Wow. Yeah, no, I didn't know that was the name of the memoir. There's a lot of talk in her interviews later in life about the meaning of being a whore and the pride of being a whore, too. She takes pride in being a sex worker, and it's so empowering and beautiful. And I just, like, before we keep going, just my relationship with this is that I talk about it in the book. As a kid, my family's like excursions or like the things we would do for fun were to get in my grandmother's car and go look at sex workers. And I was like 10 years old, right? And I know a lot of people will hear this and be horrified by it, but I just want to say, and most of these sex workers in Argentina and Buenos Aires, we would drive by the red light district and they were trans. And from a very young age, to me, being trans was something that was cool and okay and not stigmatized, and same for people in my family and same with sex work. And so like when I was watching Veneno, we'll talk about, ends up working at a park, right, as a sex worker. And those were the parks that I would drive around in as a kid.
Wow.
Just waving at these like gorgeous, gorgeous trans women. And that's why Veneno, I feel like I love and know that person so much.
Yeah, it's so interesting because we had already decided on this topic before I read your book. And then
Right.
I read about that part of your childhood, and I just thought this is so interesting that they have this kind of connection.
Yes.
where it is almost like this preternatural respect and like admiration for just the beauty of these women.
They're so beautiful. And also, it's so cool because I learned that sex work was an honorable profession as a kid. Like, even my parents would take me, sure, and they would probably like laugh and be like, oh, look at these people. But to me, they were just like gorgeous, gorgeous queens, you know? So I'm glad I was exposed to it at a young age.
That and that's why I actually think there's something very universal about Christina's story for both, probably, I mean, I'm cisgendered, but I would imagine for both trans people and cis women is like that is actually something, being sex shamed or slut shamed is something that I think is a fairly universal experience for women. I think clearly we're all expected to ride this line between being virginal and being whorish.
Yes, totally. And she leaned in the perfect way. But I think there are interviews where I can tell she pushes too hard, you know? But I think also that's what made her so funny, is she was witty and talked about her sexuality in such an open way.
Well, okay, so let's get to how
Yes.
these interviews happen.
Sorry,
Okay,
sorry.
Right, no, exactly. So she was shunned by her family, very homophobic parents, ended up, well, first of all, before she transitioned, while she was Josalito, she won, I guess, like a male beauty contest?
It was a male beauty contest and then a dating show. Are you going to talk about the dating show?
Yeah, we'll do both. So
Okay.
I don't know which one happened first. Do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, so she won a beauty contest called Mr. Andalusia as Josalito. And like he was a beautiful man.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So hot, and so hot female too. Like,
Yes.
just the best.
And as Josalito, he also, won a dating show that seems like pretty similar to the one that we had here in America.
Yeah, it was like those, what you imagine those like 70s dating shows to be. I think it was like behind where they don't see each other, the contestants. And I think a woman picked him out of 3 others.
Okay.
Just by the conversation, right?
Yeah. And so I think that both of those things are interesting because this is definitely a figure, I think there are some human beings that just they really are destined for fame.
Yes.
And these early points in Christina's life to me really indicate that. Like that she just kind of had a little je ne sais quoi. She had it.
Totally. A star. And I wish I looked for those. I couldn't find those videos of the dating show. But like Veneno, to me, she like speaks like a poet almost. Mm-hmm. The use of her words is just amazing. And I'm sorry, I don't want to like take over, but like
no,
please.
I
mean, obviously you read this, that after the dating show, the gift or whatever, what's it called, the prize was for Joselito and this woman that picked him to go to, was it Bangkok? So they go to Bangkok, I think. Basically, it was like Thailand. And they go together, him and this date, to a sex show where Joselito for the first time sees a trans woman. And it was something like they were like, I can't remember if they're like throwing darts out their pussy. No, I'm conflating this. But Joselito sees his, a first trans woman and says like, oh, fuck, that's what I am.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, I think he was in his like late 20s.
Yeah.
She transitioned later in life. So yeah, and I think there's something so fated about this realization happening while she's in kind of like a public sphere already.
Yes. Because like he wasn't famous or she wasn't famous then, but already beginning to make his way in.
Exactly.
That's wild.
So yeah, she transitions. Now she takes on the name Cristina Ortiz Rodriguez. And yeah, she works as a sex worker in this very famous park in Spain. By the way, gorgeous.
Gorgeous. And real quick, before this, tried working at a hospital.
Oh, I didn't
Not
know
as
that.
a nurse. It's like some other, job at a hospital, like feeding the patients, bringing around food. So like didn't resort to sex work at first.
Mm-hmm.
But the patients were like scared of her or like felt uncomfortable with a trans woman bringing them food or were disgusted, and so got fired. And, sex work was kind of the only way for trans women to make a living.
Right. Right. And so this park that she's at, this is also really interesting to me. There's this show on in Spain that like the title is batshit wild to me.
Right?
It's Esta noche cruzamos a la Mississippi, which is tonight we cross the Mississippi. What?
Pardon? Like there has to maybe it's like a literary reference that is just we're not getting, but yeah, I thought the same. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like I kept trying to find some correlation to the Mississippi. So the title is batshit crazy to me. And then also, I don't know, as an American, this show is something that you would just never have seen in the United States in the 90s.
I see. Well, see, in Argentina, I know this show.
Okay, tell
me
more.
Not this specific show, but this kind of TV.
Okay.
So as I'm researching Veneno, I realized that these shows, there's a channel in Argentina called Crónica TV, where basically it's like, you know what I would equate it to? Like the Jerry Springer show.
Okay. Yeah.
But more like it was like a late night, and they would bring in what they would consider freaks, right? Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because I'm a big fan of this trans woman from Argentina called Zulma Lobato. She's a senior citizen now and has had a tragic life, but was brought onto these shows, made fun of, kind of brought to this kind of fame that isn't really fame. It's like people are laughing at her. Mm-hmm. And they would have her come on and do, little dances, dressed kind of slutty and like mock her. And in fact, I'll send you the link so you can post it. There is one episode where this lady, Zulma Lobato, has what appears to be either a panic attack or a stroke of sort. I'm not sure what it is. And they air this episode without her permission.
Oh my God.
And it is so devastating to watch because the world is sharing this clip of this person in agony laughing at her. And now, sorry, I'm going on a tangent, but I find it so similar to what was done to Cristina, right? They just kind of brought her, made her famous, asked her horrible questions, made her twirl around and show her tits and her ass. And then when they were done with her, they dumped her.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. And so, okay, so at the beginning of this, so basically what happens is there's this show, Cruzamos la Noche, Esta Noche, Cruzamos la Mississippi. This show is like, yeah, it kind of feels like Jerry Springer, like they're bringing on these different characters, but also it looks like David Letterman, kind of.
Sure, it's like late night, but without celebrities, with like what they would consider freaks, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this show sends out like a field reporter to go to this park where Cristina is working, and she tries to get like a reported piece from these sex workers. And I guess in her telling, this park is so dangerous that she can like barely stay for any time. Like people are whipping out guns on her and stuff.
Yeah.
But she gets this famous interview, this like first interview with Cristina, and Cristina just comes on to camera and she looks like a fish in water.
Oh, it's like, I hate saying delicious, but like that interview is just, I want to like make love to her. She's the most stunning thing I've ever seen.
Yes. And I'm sorry, like her tits are just next level. They should be put in a museum.
Can you listen to this anecdote that you will shit your pants? During the pandemic, I, as all of us, I went a little bit crazy and I watched Veneno, and I went to see a surgeon and I brought Veneno's picture because I wanted to get a breast implant the size of Veneno. So I did find out her tits are a size 30G.
Woo!
Right?
Wow. I love
Perky,
it.
gorgeous.
And she always has them out. I mean,
always has them out.
Including the nipple. Like,
including the nipple, because she doesn't feel it. So it's like sometimes it'll be, I remember I had an aunt who had a breast job, and her nipple was always out. I talk about her in the book because she couldn't feel the nipple, so it was just always hanging out.
So again, I kind of think this was an important step for titties because I've long felt there was something very absurd and there's something very funny to me about the idea that, at least in the conservative United States, that the nipple is somehow the obscene part. Like the part that could keep someone alive.
Wow. The source of life.
Yeah, like even still, I've talked about it on stage, but if you go to like Vegas and Fremont Street, the stripper girls who are out there, they put like masking tape over just the nipple.
Like, please. I need to just start walking around with my tits out all day.
Let's do it, yeah.
Destigmatize. That's already a thing, destigmatize the nipple. But Veneno refers to her tits as, my tits are the luxury Cartier of tits. Woo! And they are. You guys, you have to look at this you just got to see these tits. And so in this first interview, she also, I mean, she just has all these funny lines. She says, I forget, like, I don't know if I'm a priest or what. I don't know if I'm a sultan, a courtesan, or I'm like Pocahontas. And then she says, but with a shark, referring to her pussy. Yes. Bites. It's such a gorgeous. Yeah, she says, Pocahontas, like boca.
Oh.
I think is what she says. Yeah. I didn't understand. Boca means mouth. Yeah, this first interview is stunning. I did find an interview just before this one, which was like her famous one. And I think this one's 1996 or 7. The one I found is in 1994. And you can tell, it's also in the park. And you can tell that there's been like more work done in the next one because she comes to her own. She just looks spectacular in the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
In the other one I found, she talks about AIDS actually and HIV.
Wow.
And talks about it in such a just like wonderful way. Admits to being so scared of getting AIDS while doing, as a sex worker, and talks about how she gets tested every 3 months and like says like a line for all the friends she's lost. So this isn't a woman that's just like titty, pussy. Like there's depth and there's heart.
And I feel the same way about you, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
No, I mean, I really, I really do. Like, I'm someone who loves like dirty jokes and a dirty sense of humor, and I love people who can bring that high-low kind of sensibility.
Yes. Thank you. Thank God I wasn't like this before, and now I am, and because I've had 1,000 years of therapy.
So this interview is such a hit. I mean, I guess in the 90s, this is like the version of going viral. I mean, people just love her. And it kind of just like makes this huge splash in Spain. And so the show is like the next day, they're like, come back. We want you back.
Yes. And it was something like the interviewer that found her in the park. She didn't like this job working for the shitty TV show. I think she was actually a journalist, which like makes sense that she would like go and risk her life going into this park. So I think this woman was just like, well, it's the only kind of journalism job I can get. But it makes sense that she would get into this, sticky situation.
No, absolutely. And you know what? Been there. Not in the... So like immediately they bring her back onto this show, and I think I'm pretty sure it's just the second time she comes back. They also bring on her parents.
Yes. So the first time she comes on, the show achieves peak ratings.
And they're just like, she's got something.
She's got something.
And so that first interview, I mean, she's just hilarious. Her body language, I mean, she just looks so comfortable in front of an audience. She's just kind of like rolling her torso and flipping her hair. And she looks so happy and so comfortable. And then in this second interview, when her parents are there, there's a pretty stark contrast.
Yeah. The second interview was really hard to watch. That's the one I was talking about. Let me see what notes I have here. First of all, before her parents come out, as they're like sitting in the audience, she talks about some guy comes to the park She tells the story. Some guy comes to the park and offers her the equivalent of, like, let's say $20,000 for her to have sex with 4 like bigwig government guys. And the guy that proposed this was their chauffeur. And basically what he wanted to do is install a camera in La Veneno's house and blackmail these 4 government guys. And Veneno says no. She's like, I obviously could use the money, but I take pride in my work and not in destroying people's lives. So anyways, this happens, and then they bring her parents out. My God.
And that is when you're like, it makes Jerry Springer look, frankly, nice to the guests.
Yes, totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. And so it's a super uncomfortable conversation where her mother is refusing to use her correct pronouns or her correct name. And it just feels very stark in comparison with this very lighthearted, kind of funny first interview where Christina's really leaning into her sexuality and has all these great one-liners. But nonetheless, Cristina kind of becomes a regular on this show. And she's really like the sidekick to the host, Pepe Navarro. And in a lot of ways, this part of her career, I'm a fan of and friends with Charo, the
What?
And her career...
Just low-key dropping that. What?
I wrote a profile on her like years ago, and I just fell in love with her. I mean, she's just...
Does she live in LA, if you can say?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll side note on this later.
But Charo, I think the thing that struck me so much, the first time I met Charo, I knew that she was just one of the most highly intelligent people I had ever met. I mean, she is just sharp as a tack, fascinating, beautiful. I did not know until I did a profile on her that she's one of the best guitar players in the world.
Totally. Wow.
And why is that? Because when she came to the United States, she was already a guitar prodigy. She came over here as a teenager, and they put her on late night shows. She was gorgeous, also just like banging body, adorable.
Sure.
English was her second language. She barely spoke English when she arrived here. And so they put her on late night shows, not to play guitar, but to play the kind of like bimbo who was the punching line, but really to do what Charo did and to do what Cristina did on these late night shows requires so much intellect.
Yeah.
So much comedic timing.
Oh my God. That's why I wish everybody could understand the interviews in Spanish, because there's wordplay involved in how she speaks, you know? Well, what are you going to do? Learn Spanish, everyone.
Yeah, do it. Honestly, it will just expand your horizons. So just do that.
Yeah.
But no, she's amazing. She's fantastic. And so she becomes, like you said, this cultural institution. And so the idea of people being trans had really been this like foreign, very fringe thing that was very highly stigmatized, that people had a lot of phobias around. And all of a sudden it was basically like as if David Letterman had a trans co-host.
It's so crazy because they'll show the audience during these interviews, and it'll be like a 90-year-old woman just like looking at Veneno, like laughing, but not laughing at her, just like admiring her. And it's so cool to see that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. But again, I think to the point you were talking about earlier, she's breaking such important ground. And she is, I think, really destigmatizing the idea of transness. But I do still think that there is a certain, they're objectifying her still.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, I wrote questions that I like. Okay, so she does this interview at the peak of her career, which is like with a more reputable source. Like it's like a TV interview, not like this late night, but it feels a little nicer. And the questions of this woman interviewing her are stuff like, do you still have a penis? Or like, stand up and twirl for us. So it's like, you know, the world wasn't prepared, and it was a garbage place for trans people, and it still is so difficult. But like, yeah, this was a more reputable place.
Yeah, I watched a couple interviews where they asked her about her genitalia or things like that, and it's I guess the good thing is that feels cringe to us coming from this moment in time, but also again, we live in Los Angeles and are surrounded by, I think, a little bit more of a different culture than maybe
Totally.
the world.
Yeah, and I think in Argentina, for example, this stuff is maybe it's not as bad, but these types of interviews are still happening. And
Is that right?
trans women are being used like, for ratings and then just discarded. And but I did read this morning that there are LGBTQ groups that are starting to like come to these women's defense, which is thank God.
Yeah, seriously. So I mean, she catapults to fame. She puts out an album. She has this great song, Veneno pa tu piel, poison for your skin. Brr.
How the club needs to be playing that song, the all ages clubs.
My old ass would go to an all ages club.
Yeah.
Just to listen to that song. No, but it's a great bop. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. But like she's really like popping off. I mean,
There's, I don't know about this. If you wrote the memoir, maybe you can tell me. But there's a movie or a couple of movies. Did you know? Was it porn? I don't know what.
Some porn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. I was like, are they like James Bond movies? Like,
See galore.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, she's very famous. But interestingly enough, like to your point, she never really makes enough money to stop performing sex work. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about, where they're really kind of using her, and she clearly is providing a lot of really important value to these shows. But she's not being compensated fairly.
No. And also, I believe, had a boyfriend who was just a trash human that was a drug addict and stole a lot of her money too.
Let's talk about him. Okay.
I don't know much about him, but so tell me.
His name was Andrea. He was Italian. And yes, that's exactly what happened. So they get together a bit after as she's rising in fame. He knows that she's getting paid for these late night appearances. He knows that she's done porn. He knows that she has money. And so he starts demanding money from her. And he's like, I know you have money from those porns and everything. Like, buy me a car.
Yeah.
She says that she refuses to buy him a car. And so one night, she and her dog are like asleep in their apartment, and she wakes up and her apartment is on fire.
That's the arson thing. I believe he was physically abusive too.
Yes, that's right. And yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I do know he was a short guy with a huge penis from the series. I don't know if it's true.
Difficult to fact check all of that, but yeah.
But fuck this guy. Okay, so he lights her apartment on fire.
He lights her apartment on fire, and so she saved. I do love this note. She goes out of the balcony. The firefighters save her. She goes back into her apartment. Most everything has been melted and incinerated, but she is able to go in and save her dresses.
Oh, because she loved her dresses. She mentions them in the very first interview in the park. She says, me gustan mis modelitos. And modelitos are like little outfits.
And they are little outfits. They're there's not a lot of fabric. I'll say that.
No, but they're imagine me wearing them right now while doing IVF and having a stomach I'm doing IVF. I have a stomach that's like a ham sorry, I'm going on. But yeah, the midriff is always exposed.
And pretty much everything else. Yeah, including the nipple sometimes. But but this asshole who she says set her apartment on fire then goes on to call the police and accuse her of committing insurance fraud.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she goes to prison?
Yep. And because she hasn't legally changed her gender or her name, she's sent to a men's prison.
Oof. Yeah, this I remember this from the series, and this chapter was hard to watch.
It is. And again, this is why this story, I think, is still prescient today, because it really touches on like important trans rights issues. I mean, because she's in a men's prison, she's obviously suffers like serious abuse and harassment. And she's also not given access to the hormones that she's been on for who knows how long.
Yes. And thus begins her kind of decline.
Exactly.
Mentally, physically. Yeah.
Exactly. And so when she leaves prison, she's like much heavier because of like the effect of the not having the hormones, and she's developed an eating disorder in prison, and she comes out and people don't even really like recognize her. But then she does I couldn't find a lot about that like really interim period. I don't know if you.
I watched one interview, which I think is when she's out of prison. You can tell she looks different. She's
Okay.
not this like, and they're straight up laughing at her at this point. She like her spark is gone. She's trying to make, this is what I meant, like she's trying to make these like sexy jokes that aren't really landing, and
Yeah.
it's a very sad, like they make her sit on this like inflatable sofa that like makes her looks like she's like bouncing, like kind of like having sex. It's, the whole thing is just really fucked up.
Yeah, it does like and it feels like because this was someone who they felt okay objectifying when she was on top, they still feel okay making her the butt of the joke after she
Yes.
suffered this terrible tragedy. And it is,
Yes.
again, it's really hard to watch, and it also like gives you an appreciation for what a resilient person she was.
Oh my God. Yeah. Totally. Totally.
So sometime around this time, she kind of gets back in her game, though. Like she starts doing more daytime TV.
Mm-hmm.
In 2013, she announces to the world that she has a 23-year-old boyfriend.
Mm.
But,
Tell me about this. I didn't know that.
well,
That's all it is.
he has a 23-year-old boyfriend, but then that asshole steals all her money.
Great.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I mean, it's just trying to find love.
Exactly. But and so around this time, she actually meets up with another young like trans journalist who's always like, and this is kind of what the TV series is based on.
Oh, okay. This is where I kind of drop off on the story. So tell me the rest.
So this young journalist pairs up with her, and this young journalist has always been a fan of La Veneno, and she's like, "Let me write your life story," and so they team up together to write her memoir.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And nobody wants to publish it, so it ends up being self-published.
Mm.
But it is like juicy as fuck. So basically, we find out in this memoir that Christina, like in the height of her fame and kind of like throughout her life, has fucked like so many important, powerful people.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, that's crazy. This is like those politicians that they were trying to bribe, but she didn't kiss and tell, but now she did. Does she throw names out there?
She doesn't throw names, but she
Oh,
gives
good
hints,
for her.
And that's why I thought it was so interesting when you brought up the politician thing, because I was like, this actually ends up being very significant at the end of her life.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Right, because at this point she was like, fuck the world. Like, I don't know anyone's shit.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay.
Exactly. And so apparently she fucked famous bullfighters,
Hot.
powerful politicians and movie actors. However, the most powerful person that we think that she fucked is the literal king of Spain.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. And apparently, the chisme is he would go over. He would go over to her house dressed as a bricklayer in disguise.
Hot.
I know.
Wow. I'm like, my mind is blown. I did not know this huge factoid. And also, like, fuck people for not wanting to publish this book.
Oh my God, I know. Well, and like the joke's on them because it became a huge hit for obvious reasons.
Right.
Yeah. But, dude, so this book comes out. She doesn't name names, but she kind of implies like who. Within a month of the book being published, she is found almost dead in her apartment. She's found by her boyfriend at the time, which is now different from the guy that stole all the money. This is a new guy, but he's younger. This guy also, neighbors have reported that they've heard fights and seen signs of abuse from this guy too.
Yeah.
She's tried to report this guy for abusing her. Anyway, he says that he finds her in their living room. She's got a huge gash on her head, like a really deep one. And she's in a puddle of blood. And she's got like Xanax and alcohol nearby. And there's blood leading from the bathroom to where he finds her.
Yeah. Wow.
They go to the hospital. She's put into an induced coma. He says that what happened was that she tripped in the bathroom and fell, and that's how she got the hit on the head.
Right.
Here's what's fucking crazy to me. I found an article so she was in like on life support basically for a few days before she passed. Before she had actually passed, like within days of her being in the hospital, her family is saying that they think that she was killed because she had been receiving death threats recently because of what she wrote in that book.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Like ousting men for being with a trans woman and like higher ups of whatever.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the boyfriend, you don't think? Or you don't, I mean, that's what I was unsure of the end of her life. You think it?
The thing, okay, one other piece of information that's interesting to me is the coroner ultimately does find out that she did die of trauma to the head.
Sure, but
he rules that it wasn't from the bathtub. The coroner says that it looks like she fell downstairs. So to me, that makes me the most suspicious of the boyfriend.
right. And then she was just placed by the bathtub or wherever.
Exactly.
And also, I'm going to assume that no judge or like no one cared to investigate further. Correct?
No.
Yeah, of course.
No. Even though the family immediately expressed suspicion, like immediately. This is like, I mean, it's so fishy that this happened within weeks of her publishing this tell-all.
Yeah, clearly.
The fucking king of Spain could be implicated.
It's just, I didn't know this, and it's just so I don't know why I thought she died of like cancer. Oh, you know why I thought she died of cancer? Because I think the actress that played Cristina in her later years recently died of cancer.
She did. That's
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got things wrong, but
yeah.
Okay, that's so fucking devastating.
Yeah. So you're right, exactly right. No real investigation was ever done into her death, which I think again, it speaks to this really tragic reality that like even this person who had such a public platform and was so beloved by so many people and so famous, really her life was not given import and the violence against her was not taken seriously. And I think that that is something that's really still obviously still such an issue.
Yeah. And and then what happened? She was on life support until she wasn't.
She was only on life support. She died fairly shortly after being in the hospital. She died, I think, 4 days after going into the coma. And so after the coroner ruled that she fell downstairs, there's no real other investigation.
Another gorgeous part of the series, if you remember, is after her death, all of her trans, like sex worker friends go back to the park. It's like another magic realist moment where she goes to the park and is like greeted in her best self or in the way she looked in her best days. And one thing I do love about the series too, and I'm sure in real life was the same, was the community of trans women that supported Cristina was just amazing. Especially this one woman who I follow on Instagram called Paca la Piranha. Does she sound familiar?
I remember Paca.
And she's almost like now is just like this like big grandmotherly type woman, and she fed Cristina and helped her, was kind of like a lifelong best friend.
And they lived together after she left prison, right?
They lived together, and Paca nursed her back to health basically, and just was kind of like the mother she never had. And I recommend you follow her on Instagram. She's incredible and so entertaining, and I love her. It's my dream to meet her.
I will, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that was another beautiful thing about the series is that I learned after watching it is that they actually cast real friends of Cristina's.
Right, because Paca it plays herself.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God. Right.
Which, again, like, talking about, like, the media is the message. Like, I love that this is a show about magical reality. Not necessarily totally about that, but this is a show that incorporates magical reality and blurring the line between fiction and reality. And so what a cool way to incorporate reality kind of into this fiction.
The two guys that did this series, they they're Los Javis because they're dating and they're called Javier and Javier.
Oh, I didn't know they were together. That's so cute.
Yeah, they're just the hottest couple I've ever seen. And they actually are, I saw them, they're judges on the RuPaul's Drag Race of Spain.
Nice.
And I'm waiting. I believe they're coming out with a new movie soon. I can't remember details about it, but these kids are just kids. These men are amazing filmmakers.
Yeah, I was so impressed with the whole series. And I think, too, when you're talking about this community that Cristina had around her, as we're talking, I'm like, that may be part of why she never really let go of the sex work world, even when she could have.
Totally. That park was home.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think especially when we consider her family life and the very public way that her parents kind of refuted her and pushed her out and sort of refused to acknowledge her true self, I think she found real family in these women.
Totally. Oh, I have chills. It's just, what an incredible story, Tess, really.
I just love her. I'm so glad that I became aware of this person. And again, I don't think that I think there's a dearth of information available about her in English.
In English. Did you read the memoir in Spanish or in English?
In
You
Spanish.
did? Oh,
Yeah.
amazing. Okay, I'm going to order it today. I actually wanted to show you, a friend of mine went to Spain and knows I'm a big Veneno fan and brought me back. I know people can't see this, but brought me back these gorgeous greeting cards of La Veneno. And I'm gonna send you one. And these stickers, like, sorry, I know this is a podcast, but look at those.
It's okay.
It's a sticker that's like two tits with hearts on them, and just incredible. So, anyways, whenever it's someone's birthday, this is what I use as a card: is a picture of La Veneno.
What a great thing to have in your arsenal.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm running low on them, and I'm just like, fuck, how do I get more?
Yeah. No, well, after we decided on this topic, you texted me your recipe book and you were like, this is.
Oh my God, yeah. It's because I like to put all my recipes in like a little binder, and on the cover is a picture of Veneno sucking her finger. Tasty. But it's so funny, like as I'm researching, I knew a lot about La Veneno, but I didn't realize there would be like an overlap with some of the, themes in my book of my childhood and things I was exposed to, and Argentine TV and what that meant to me as a kid too. So thank you for having me on.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for joining. This has been just an absolute delight. It's always so fun to hang out with you.
You too. Did I talk too much? I feel like I just took over and was like, listen, I watched 100 interviews of La Veneno and let me transcribe them for you.
No.
Okay, good.
This is a podcast. I want you to talk.
Okay, good. Obsessed. I want to really quick before we go, I have a book to recommend if people are interested in books by trans authors, and there's one that reminds me a lot of Veneno's story. It's called Bad Girls. She's an Argentine writer that was a sex worker in a very similar situation, like worked at a park, and writes the most stunning account of her life. And it's called Bad Girls by Camila Sosa. Sosa, and a lot of parallels with La Veneno. So I recommend that.
My God, thank you. I will read that. And of course, we got to recommend your book, which I'll plug in the opening, but tell everyone where they can find your book and again, what it's called and all that fun stuff.
My book is called For Me Argentina, My Life as a Failed Child Star, and it is available everywhere, but I prefer to not buy it on Amazon if possible. And I also narrated the audiobook myself. So if you're not annoyed by the sound of my voice thus far, then you can hear me cry 1,000 times as I talk about my family.
No, it's so beautiful. Your family is just a crack up. There was one part where you're talking about your mom as a young girl watching a parade in Argentina, and she says, "I'm going in." And I just started cackling at that line. Like, that's so fucking
going
funny.
in. Yeah. And my mom was like late to develop. And then one day she just grew a huge pair of tits, similar to Venenos in size. And she lived in a border town with Argentina and Brazil, and there was carnival happening. And she said, fuck it. I'm going to dance with whatever, like with these ladies in feathers. And she got crowned Miss Carnival. She was like in her underwear, barefoot.
It's such a beautiful anecdote, and and your writing is just so fun to read, and I just loved it. And it's just really a beautiful portrait sort of Argentine culture and what the experience of immigrating to also a city like Los Angeles.
Well, first it was Irvine, California, which is the worst place to live. Actually, not the worst place. It was coined the safest city in America for 18 years in a row, which is terrifying.
Yeah, because what does that say about the other 9,877 cities?
Yeah, exactly. So, Orange County, super conservative place, not great.
No. Yeah, so please check out this book. It's amazing. And just thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Have me on again.